Warp103 bringing another video. This time here we're actually going to go over the Italian heavy tanks, so you can see their stats and everything else like that before they actually come out. So of course, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
I'm gonna have to rain down a godly firestorm on you.
And thank you for viewing this video. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking the icon above, and then of course hitting the bell icon to get notifications when the next video drops. So here we go. Okay folks, we are doing right now is the Bugetto 54. Now we're not doing the tier 7. Most people are not really going to care about the tier 7. We're going to really start with the tier 8 because that's when most people are going to be playing, the tier 8, the tier 9, and the tier 10. All right, now we're comparing it to an autoloader. Now the only reason why I'm comparing it to the autoloader, because most people are going to ask this, why not compare it to like the 5100, everything else of that. The reason why I'm not comparing it to most of the other tanks is because of the clip size. So I wanted to compare basically. Well, I know that the one's in a true autoloader and one is an auto reloader, but this is the best comparison of apples to apples, as close to apples I can actually get. Now, the thing being is like this: we're covering, the tank as you see it in the background here. You can see the armor and everything else of that, but we're not going to go into full detail on its armor model and everything else of that. I'm going to go over it, just go over it so you can see, but that's basically it. Okay, now we're looking at just the comparison really quickly. The DPM sucks. The penetration, again, if we're comparing it with the Emily, because again, this is the most on point tank that I can get that's an autoloader, and it's a heavy. Okay, so DPM basically sucks compared to, and again, this is your best DPM. If you sit there and use all three shots, well, your reload goes into the crapper. So penetration slightly better, damage per shot worse, clip reload time, meaning that, and again, this is not totally accurate because that's only for one shell. So when you look at the totality of the reload, it's actually longer than the reload of the one clip. The damage it puts out per its clip favors the ML easily. The interclip reload, meaning, but let's say if you wanted to burst out that fire, you're going to take way longer with the Bugetto to do it than the ML, and that extra half a second can put you in a world of hurt. Now, it does have great shell velocity, better than the ML does. Ammo capacity though, no. You will run out of shells with this thing, so that if you have a long protracted battle and you really need to go in, you're going to get screwed. So that's why your potential damage is so low. Now, on the gun handling side, the gun handling on the Bugetto is better than the ML, straight up and down, hands better. They both have the same dispersion, but the on the move, transverse, and everything else that way better. Elevation's way better, but depression is worse. Speed, yeah, loss. It does have more engine power. It does have better the power to weight ratio. So they're going to feel basically speed wise around the same under most normal conditions. Transverse speed again is going for the Bugetto is better. So if you're going down that hill, the ML is going to get it if it's getting away. But if you're on most level circumstances, level ground, and everything else, the Bugetto is going to feel more mobile, easier to get through, and everything else of that. Armor. Frontal hull armor is again favoring the Emil, but again, this can work in a lot of different circumstances, as you can plainly see. Again, this is facing itself. If I change the gun to a more higher power gun, it will go through its face and everything else to that. But effectively, you're effectively 240. Let's figure around that area. Track health worse. Ammo rack worse. So again, don't feel bad if someone catches you and you get ammo racked slightly more than the Emil would and everything else. So that meaning that a light or medium hitting you for that will track you and hit your ammo rack, whereas the Emil, most lights and medium, unless they again have more than this, you'll feel safer. Camo, better for the Bugetto all day long in almost all circumstances. Radio range, most people don't really care about that. Long as it's over 700, you're just fine. Chances to go on fire though, favor the Bugetto 54, and shell cost costs more, and they'll cost more to run the Bugetto than it does to run the Emil. So that's the tier 8. Overall, the tier 8, you basically Emil versus this. It's like the Emil is going to feel, gun handling wise, the Bugetto is going to feel better, but the damage, if he comes around the corner and you'll meet each other, the Emil is going to handle your butt. Okay, so that's the first one down. We are going to go to tank number 2. Now, unfortunately, the way the tank CGs is, I have to leave the Emil in place, but we're doing the Emil 2 versus the Bugetto 66, the tier 9s. DPM again favors the Emil. Penetration favors the Emil. Damage per shot still faces the Emil. Rate of fire, of course, we know it's going to still face the Emil. And again, your clip potential still favors the Emil in all aspects of it. Now, it does have slightly better shell velocity, which is okay. Your potential damage is still going to favor you with the Emil because you still have a limited number of shots, which is really sad. Okay, your aim time is better with the Bugetto. Dispersion's better, so soft stats and gun stats are going to be better most of the time, except for when you are firing. Now, this is going to, after firing is going to be an issue because, of course, you know, the Emil is slightly better on that, but you have to factor in the amount of time it's actually going to take you to get the next clip ready to fire. So we'll look at that in just a second. Elevation, better. Gun depression still favors the Emil. So again, if you work in the ridge line and everything else to that, the Emil is going to feel much better, but soft stats and overall gun stats, the Bugetto 66 is going to feel better. Let's go with the mobility. Okay, mobility wise, again, still favoring the Emil. Now, it's not as bad as it was before because now it's flipped. Now the tier 9, the Emil has better engine horsepower, power to weight ratio than the Bugetto does. Excuse me. But it has worse terrain resistance, soft stats and everything else to that, except for on soft surfaces where it's the same. So the Emil is going to feel, very slightly better under most circumstances, except for when you're in soft ground, and on soft ground, the Emil is going to feel again better. Transverse still goes to Bugetto, but your effective transverse and everything else to that, to all practical purposes, the Emil is, in this case here, wins the mobility battle. It just plain up and down does. Now, armor wise, the Emil again, the hull of the Emil is going to take a beating. Bugetto, you do have some angles where you can bounce some stuff, especially if you're going hull down. It makes it a little bit tougher and everything else to that, but it's still pinnable. We already know this and everything else to that. Turret, again, it's going to favor the Emil. If you're hull down, the Emil is going to fare better. Now, the thing is, of course, if you just live a little bit aside of the turret and the Emil and stuff like that, you know how that gets slapped. So, side turret wise, the Bugetto has more armor. It can, bounce some more shots if you turn slightly and everything else. But front on, the Emil is going to be better. Health wise, Bugetto, engine health, Bugetto, and everything else in that section is relatively the same. Camo values still favor the Bugetto because again the Emil is a tall tank. So everything camera-wise is mostly going to favor the Bugetto. One factor that's really important, that it has 10 more meters of view range than the Bugetto, and it still has a lower chance of actually going on fire. So again, this is a direct comparison again, and I'm not considering the Emil one of the best tanks in the world. So far it seems like the Bugetto is, even though it has better gun handling overall and stuff like that, but it has lower penetration, so it's still, to me, the Emil wins this fight. If they face each other one-on-one right behind each other, yeah, the Emil's going to win this one. Okay, let's go on to the last one. All right, the last one is a Rosante. Now again, this time, since it's a tier 10, I'm actually going to put it up against the Cranvon and the 50B. Again, the only reason why I put the 50B inside it, even though I know that the clip size is different, is because you're comparing the tier 10s. It's the only reason why I'm putting the extra tank inside of there. If not, it would just be a comparison of the 3-shot clips. Okay, here we go. Dpm Mods. It loses out to, well,
now, of course,
you already see it. It loses out majorly to the Cranbon.
It loses out
in DPM to the 50B as well.
I feel, to me, it feels better than
penetration wise. It is better than both the 50B and the Cranbon. It does have better damage per shot, which is great. Again, this is one of those things that you really want to be on point on. The rate of fire, of course, is low. Again, the reload time, this is just a misnomer because that's only showing one of the rounds. So you have to figure out the total round. It's going to be longer than both of these if you shoot all 3 shots. So again, if you shoot one at a time, you're okay. But if you shoot all 3, well, you're absolutely screwed. Okay, now again, the clip size is going to be a little bit off because, again, we're talking about the 50B has 4 shots. All right, now if we're shooting all 3 shots this time here, and again, we're going to take 1 shot off of this to give this 1200. The tier 10 finally has the edge on clip potential damage, but there's a big caveat to that. The interclip reload is super long. This reminds me of the Char Future. So yeah, if you're bursting each other, he's going to get his clip off first, and he's going to clip you, you clip him. He's going to be on his reload while you're still chugging along. So even if you do 1 at a time while he bursts his thing and everything else, he's still going to beat you in the end when it comes to overall damage. It's just how it's going to work. So if it's a one-on-one fight, you're losing. If it's a one-on-one fight versus the 50B, you're going to lose even harder. Again, even if you assume this was a 3-shot, why? Because the interclip reload is smaller, so therefore the amount of time it takes to actually, get to that reload time and everything else, that you still get screwed on. I mean, it is what it is. Now, it does have, sweet shell velocity, so you will be able to hit things that are on a farther range. You'll be able to say, oh, he's down there, and you'll get that shot off cleanly without having too much lag time, which is really good. You still see these mounted shells actually dip down even further than it was for the previous tank. So you're actually going with less and less shells, so your potential damage, even though it's around the same as the last one, it's still going down. So if you're in a long, protracted fight with this tank, you're in big trouble. Okay, now if we're looking at the aim time, now again, the gun handling, even though it has better aim time, it does have better dispersion, but on the move, on transverse and everything else, and then after firing, wow, it's just no bueno. No, I don't know what they've done, but yeah, this is ugly. This is very ugly for a tank, because again, you have 4 seconds. So even though you'll be reloaded, you're still, if you fire before that point, your dispersion is going to be wrecked. Okay. Now, it still doesn't compare to the 50B overalls for that. So again, gun handling wise, I'll give it to the Crown Vong or the 50B. I've done comparisons before of all the loaders before, you know, and sorry, not 50B. I still didn't even put in the T57 heavy because again, I think that would be just unfair at this point. All right. Next thing, speed. No. It seems like it's gotten worse and worse in mobility wise. Again, you're down to 40. Your reverse power is 12. You know, your engine power is below everybody else. Your power to weight is very low. Your terrain resistances are okay and everything else like that, but your effective terrain resistances compared to both other tanks is just no. So your mobility has gone down the crapper. All right. Now, if you look at the hull, your hull is actually stronger than it was before and everything else. So that you still have a pretty good turret, but your turret's thing still only in the even now you're at tier 10. Your turret's only around. Basically, it went up from 240 to 260. Now, again, you have areas that are ridiculous, but just on the average, they can shoot you in the face and everything else. That
well, guys, thank you for watching. Please hit the like, subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Until then, this
your camo is still excellent, still good, and everything else. That your fire chance is great, your shell course is great, but overall, this line needs help. It's not really a good line to go down if you're comparing it to the Crown Vong and you're comparing it to the 50B. It's just no. I understand that they're putting the Italian heavies in the game to, you know, make things, you know, the line needed the heavy tank variant to it, but the stats as they are right now, I see in the future that these stats have to get bumped up because people are going to go into this line and they're going to be crying. Because again, they were like, well, they can say, well, we could. So literally, you have other heavy tanks that stats that will work better than this tank here, and you're just fighting a losing battle with, you know, tanks like I'm just going to pick a random. No, sorry, I should have actually pick the IS-7. You know, just a random extra tank. You know. The IS-7 still has better DPM than you do. You do have a little bit better penetration, but overall, it's just Russia. We all know how IS-7s work. It just yells Russia and does things, and you know, got this turret that basically says, "Come on, keep shooting me," you know. So overall, you know, I think the Italian heavies are not worth the trouble. I'm not even going to make the attempt to go down this line until much later. I'm not going to be the first one at the party saying, hey, I want to get this line. No, it's not worth it. That's my opinion on it and everything else that. Now, we'll see after when they come out if they give them a slight tweak and everything else that. But this is how I feel about it right now. Of course, when they come out, I'm going to do individual ones of each tank again to see if something has changed. But if nothing has changed, well, that's it. Well, thank you guys for watching. This is Warp103. So warp out, have fun, and of course, we'll catch you on the next one.